today. So thank you so much to everyone for joining us for our December Food Security Community Call. I'm Anne Marie Hart Bookbinder. I'm the Food Security Programs Manager at the Montgomery County Food Council. And we are so thrilled to have you with us here today. In a moment, we are going to post our agenda for today's call. We will have some updates from the Food Council staff. We will have a presentation about the Financial Empowerment Center in Gaithersburg. We will have some information on county grants, particularly on some those relating to transportation. We are also going to have a presentation from the Gilchrist Center and some updates on SNAP benefits, some policies, and also a little discussion about how to best serve those that may be affected by benefits decreases, fraud, things, particularly during what is a very busy season for food assistance providers. So I just want to kick things off with a few updates from the Food Council. First of all, like I mentioned, Danielle, if you haven't already, if you could just share in the chat the agenda for the day. I will give a quick update on the work on the strategic plan to end childhood hunger. Just to let you all know that the next to final draft is now with our advisory board. And once we receive and incorporate any necessary amendments, it will be submitted to our Department of Health and Human Services and the County Council for their review. Just a big thank you again to any of you who have been involved in that process, whether it was attending any of our strategic business brainstorming groups, participating in one-on-one meetings with us as we needed to learn more information, participating on the advisory board if you are a part of that, sharing the word with residents about our survey or helping to organize one of our 3 resident listening engagement sessions. We just really appreciate all of your time and knowledge and expertise and effort on this initiative. So thank you again for that. And we are going to share in the chat some updates on that work. One is an article that ran about it in Bethesda Magazine. And then the County Council's office recently released an official project overview video about the strategic plan, a short and a long version. So we will include those links in the chat as well. And as per usual, we will be including copies of all presentation slides, materials, links, anything we touch on in today's call will be shared in the notes as well as in our follow-up email, which will go out tomorrow with all of the resources discussed here today. So if you miss it in the chat, no worries, you will get it again. A note about advocacy. The state legislative session will be here before you know it. And if you would like to follow our advocacy efforts and get involved in that process, I recommend you join our advocacy listserv if you haven't already done so. And again, Danielle will be sharing that link in the chat for those of you who may not have signed up with it up for that yet. So please join us in those efforts. I believe we're a little ahead of time, but I did see that our first speaker is here, so I'm happy to keep things moving. And I've already made him a co-host, so hopefully I'm going to ask Raphael Murphy and also from the Montgomery County Office of Grants Management, and Shawn Brennan from Montgomery County Aging and Disability Services. I'm going to look through it, but please feel free to unmute yourself if you can. If not, I will keep looking for you in my list. And Raphael, we can get started with your presentation.
Great. Thank you, Anne Marie. So apologies for the informal attire. It was work from home day. I wasn't expecting to present, but there's a good grant opportunity that's food security related organizations are eligible for. So I want to take this opportunity to highlight that here. So I'm just going to share my screen quick.
And while you do that, I am just going to say we are so happy to have you with us, whether it's last minute or in advance. We're happy to have you as you are. So thank you.
And I apologize, didn't introduce myself. I'm Rafael Pumerlejo Murphy. I'm the director of the new Office of Grants Management, a new entity in county government. And I just want to, one of our main functions in county government, a new one, is to help departments launch competitive grants programs. The county council and the county executive have seen competitive grants programs during the pandemic as a really effective tool to quickly get money out the door to innovative or highly nuanced projects. And so compared to, say, FY21, where there's really only 2 or 3 grants programs that the county would do, in FY23, we have at least a dozen, and council keeps on creating new ones. So one big change about grants going forward in the county is you're going to be seeing a lot of opportunities to apply for county resources instead of just 1 or 2 a year, as has historically been the case. So a good example of this is this program. This is a Department of Transportation funded program. It's funded through a special tax that's collected from taxi cabs. And the money is used to provide more accessible transportation services throughout the county. So the county executive, county council, and then Department of Transportation are issuing this funding out to nonprofit organizations to help support your transportation needs. So I'll just go through this, and I'll be providing the slides to Anne Marie so she can distribute them to you. So this is the targeted and specialized mobility program, and there's 2 aspects to the program. There's the capital grants, and then there's the operating grants portion of the program. The capital grants have $640,000 total to be distributed this year. Operating grants, it's a lot less. It's only $160,000. In terms of maximum award size, the capital grants is $45,000 maximum, operating as a $30,000 maximum. So in terms of performance period, how long these can go, it's up to 1 year, 12 months to use the funding. But for operating grants, if you want to do a shorter period, like a 3-month, 6-month long program, that's perfectly fine. Just put that in your proposal. But really, we want this money used within 12 months. And that's not bound to fiscal year calendars for the county. So it's 12 months from whenever we sign the grant agreement with you. To apply and gain more information about these programs, you can go to mcmdgrants.smapply.org. That's our online application platform. Some of you might be familiar with it, where we used to do community grants. They're rebranding themselves from Fluid Review to SurveyMonkey Apply, but whether you put in Fluid Review or SurveyMonkey Apply, it'll take you to the same place, your same profile, everything. But that's where all the information and the application itself is going to be for these programs. The application opened about a couple of weeks ago on November 28th at noon, and it's going to close in about a little over 2.5 weeks on December 28th, 2022 at midnight. So in terms of the goals of this program, for the operating grant goal, it's to provide direct services and or support that improve delivery of transportation related services. So that's very broad, and it's intentionally very broad because a lot of different sectors need help with transportation. And capital grant, just slightly modified, provide capital resources that support direct services and or support that improves delivery of transportation related services. So the target population for both programs are individuals who are disabled, seniors, or individuals with lower limited incomes. And so those suffering from food insecurity obviously fall into that third category. So a lot of what your work would be doing could be potentially related. So if you're providing a transportation service or need transportation resources to help, improve services for these populations, for one or more of these populations, this is a program for you. You're eligible. And you have to be a nonprofit organization to apply, a 501c3. So this has to be a new program requirement. You don't have to launch an entirely new program, but we want this to be on top of your existing efforts at least. So if you have an existing program, and this will help you expand service, increase the amount of service, improve service, this is a good program for you. In terms of priorities, what we're looking for is organizations that demonstrate a commitment and experience with providing transportation, public health, and/or community benefit services to at least one of the target populations. So again, food security would fall underneath that. So again, very applicable to you guys. Proposals that target underserved and vulnerable populations. Again, I think that's very much within your all of your bailiwicks. And then proposals that seek to have a broad base of impact in their target community. So what we mean by this is we don't just want to have, buying a vehicle for use for like 2 or 3 people to gain access to transportation. That's good, and we understand some people need that, but it's really, we're looking, whatever purchase we do or whatever grant we support, we want it to be helping a lot of people. So that's going to be a priority when we're awarding funding. There's lots of programs that are going to be eligible, but the ones that are going to be more competitive are those that are going to be serving a broader population. So we're also, these are the county's values. We're also looking for proposals from organizations that exhibit cultural proficiency, are inclusive of the LGBTQIA+ community members, and use racial equity lens in providing services. So these are things that we're all looking for in terms of our applicants. And these are good things to emphasize when you do write your applications. In terms of eligible expenses, some folks get confused with what's capital eligible, what's operating eligible. To kind of break it down as simply as I can, capital grants are usually one-time fixed expenses to purchase a major fixed asset related to transportation services. So this could be like a van, to transport food from your warehouse to your distribution centers. This could be, the upgrade of a vehicle to improve it, or like if you're serving a disabled population or folks who are wheelchair bound, installing an upgrade that allow them to, get into the vehicles more easily. Other transportation related costs, but it has to be related to transportation. And that's part of the funding where this is coming from. It's coming from a very special fund within county government, and it has to be limited to transportation services. So, any sort of permanent upgrade to a vehicle or buying a new vehicle, that would be a good use of this funds, and that would be capital eligible. But that'd be like a major one-time purchase. In terms of operating grants, we're looking for ongoing and continuing expenses associated with providing transportation. So some examples of that could be repairs to the vehicle, maintenance, which you need to do over time, fuel costs, that's how much it's going to cost you to be doing your program, distributing food, there's a fuel cost associated with that. If you're hiring or if you have staff members or you're hiring contractors to provide this transportation service for your beneficiaries, that's an operating cost. Insurance, again, is ongoing cost. And again, any other ongoing transportation related cost. There's a lot of, it can be confusing sometimes, whether something is capital or operating. Feel free to reach out to me, just email me and just kind of let me know your question, or this is what you want to do. Which program would that be a better fit in? And I'm happy to clarify that with you. If I need to have a dialogue with you to kind of get a better understanding of it, I can help you point in the right direction. But one thing I want to emphasize is you can apply for both programs. So you can apply for capital and you can apply for operating. So you don't necessarily have to choose between the two of them. As I showed in the previous slide, there's a lot more capital funding available, but it's perfectly possible you could get both capital and operating. So those, briefly just breaking it down, this opportunity for you. One other opportunity that's popped up really recently and it's worth highlighting is Senator Cardin is holding an earmark information session. And so this would be really useful for you, as you can lobby for federal funding directly to the senator's office. So they're doing a process where they're collecting project ideas or funding ideas for federal resources for their FY24 budget that would flow directly to Montgomery County and the nonprofit community. So this is, again, the US Senator, or Senator Cardin is organizing this session and hosting it. But this is a really, really good opportunity for you to directly appeal for federal funding. I'm sure this funding probably wouldn't flow through the county. It'd probably go right to the nonprofit community. But if you have needs or resources that are needed, or things that you really think the Fed should be paying more attention to or doing within Montgomery County, and that would flow directly to the nonprofit community and providers like yourselves, this is really a golden opportunity to participate in. So I would really encourage you to email the Ken Rickard, I think that's how you pronounce his name, and register for this event and try to participate, because it's a really good opportunity to not just get more resources for the county, but maybe get more resources for you directly that doesn't have to flow through the county from the feds. I'll also be sending to Anne Marie some other resources the senator's office has prepared for you guys to read and observe that helps put a better framework around this event and types of projects that the feds are interested in supporting. And food security falls within that. So I think there's no question there. But it's just helpful for you guys to understand how they're looking at this, so you can frame your requests that meet their that meet their lens. We're not helping run this event. We have no role in it. So I, unfortunately, besides what I just shared now, I don't really know much more than this. So if you do have questions, I can try to answer them, but really reaching out to Ken is probably going to be the best way to get these questions answered. And that's it. And so this is my contact information. So if you have questions about the program, if the transportation program, whether you're not sure if it's capital operating or whether they're eligible or not, just feel free to reach out to me by email. Phone is a little bit harder, but I'm getting better at calling people back. And then also the county grants application platform where all the application materials are, where you have to submit the application, all the details. That's mcmdgrants.smapply.org. And then we did an information session last Monday, and that was about 90 minutes long. It's recorded. And so you can click on this hyperlink when you get the slides, and they'll walk you through the entire program, a lot more nuances, a lot more slides. So you can see, and I also walk through the application platform, and I show how you register, how you upload documents, how you work through it, how you can submit your application. So the whole process from start to finish is right there. So that's a useful resource for you to go into. But again, mcmdgrants.smapply.org is going to be the central hub for all the information for both of these programs. So with that, and I hope I wasn't speaking too fast. I don't know if there's time for questions or not, but I'm happy to answer any initial questions you may have.
Yeah, we certainly have a few minutes for questions, and I got one directly in the chat, and I will. It's a little vague, so I'm going to ask it, but if whoever sent it to me felt comfortable elaborating on that, feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself. This person was looking for more detail on the source of the funds for the grant. So I'm not sure if they meant these two transportation grants in specific or county funds and county grants in general.
Well, for these funds, it's and I don't have my Department of Transportation colleagues on here with me, but basically there's a special enterprise fund that's been set up within Department of Transportation, and every time you ride a taxi, you pay a little bit of extra tax, and that money goes into the special fund. And this special fund can only be used, the resources that go in there, that tax revenue, can only be used for improving transportation accessibility. So in years past, this money was given to private taxi cab companies to incentivize them to buy or upgrade more disabled accessible vehicles. We seem to have tapped that out, like they're the ones that were interested or they've kind of hit capacity. So that money hasn't really been being spent. It's just kind of been accumulating year after year after year. And we're still, helping taxi cab companies who are interested, but there's just a lot of money building up. So the legal authority of this fund allows us to also do this for nonprofit organizations as well, who are improving accessible transportation or providing accessible transportation services. So it's a good opportunity for you guys. This is not county general funds. It's not a special tax or anything. It's just for you to, there's a lot of clients who need transportation services or help you deliver your food to the people who need it, where they need it. And so this is a resource that can be tapped into. So I don't know next year I assume next year it's going to be available again. I don't know how much money is going to be in it, or how much can be put out there. That's going to be up to the county council and the county executive, of course. But this money and this resource is generating every year. So I assume at some level there's going to be more of this going forward.
I've got to thank you in the chat for that answer. So you answered the question. I do see that Shawn has her hand up. Shawn Brennan.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Shawn Brennan with Montgomery County Aging and Disability Services, and I've focused on transportation and mobility for some years. So I just want to politely, clarify a few things Raphael said. I've been in this for a while, so that's why I kind of have some background. The tax is not actually of taxi rides. The tax, if you will, surcharge is on Uber and Lyft transportation network company, those kind of services. And it originated because when these transportation players first came on the scene, they really denied actually that they were transportation companies, and sometimes still too. They say that they're IT companies, right? And therefore the Americans with Disabilities Act doesn't apply to them, and so they were resisting providing wheelchair accessible service. Now that is happening now to some degree, but the county was very concerned that the taxi industry would be pushed out in a way by these other companies, and they were the ones who were providing accessible transportation, on demand accessible transportation. So I just want to make that clarification. And yes, the taxi companies are beneficiaries of this fund. They get compensated when they drive wheelchair accessible vehicles, and they get help purchasing accessible vehicles as well. It's just that people felt like there were a lot of nonprofit organizations also that serve people with disabilities that would benefit from these funds. So there was a movement to have this grant program to open this up to get a little bit beyond taxi. So this Transportation Services Improvement Fund is going to be is what's available for these grants. Whether or not there's going to be funding in the future, my understanding from the Department of Transportation is that's very uncertain. So it is possible this could be a one-time thing. And so I would just suggest that you ponder that, because whatever project you have to do in a year, sometimes it's hard to stop something, right? Just people get accustomed to it. So think strategically, how can we use these funds in a way that's going to help serve the public, but not become something that maybe you won't be able to continue, right? So, but at the same time, you could think of it, this is a pilot opportunity, right? And if you start something that then has a big impact and you get feedback from organizations or individuals who are using it, that's great advocacy meat, if you will, to feed the council and to make a case that there should be continued funding. So I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth there, but just thought that perspective might be of some help. But I just want to mention that Raphael had very short notice on this. I had offered to do the presentation, but I was like, well, how silly is that? He's right in the thick of it. He knows the ins and outs, and luckily he spontaneously agreed to do this. So thank you, Raphael. Really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, my pleasure. And thank you for clarifying that there. I think I've been more focused on the process than I have been on the history of that. But now that I recall some of the conversations, that's why it's so capital heavy. That's why 640,000 isn't capital versus operating, was to make, because that's going to be a one-time purchase in case this does go away, or it's a much smaller program in the future. You have this one-time funds can be out there for a long time, having an impact through capital purchases versus operating. So, but yeah, thank you for the clarification and the history of the fund.
Oh, sure.
Thank you. I want to keep moving on our agenda. I have one thing to add, and then I also want to point, Raphael, that there is a question in the chat, and if you wouldn't mind just kind of, checking that out in case anyone else thinks of anything else in the next few minutes, we'd appreciate your feedback on that. If you have to go at any time, we'll certainly collect any other questions and send them your way. The one thing I did just want to mention, and understanding that this is all new, and so we're certainly not going to put you on the spot today, but I did just want to put a plug that we would be happy to, or I would be happy anyway, to work with you in the future on just getting a sense of what the calendar might be for future grants, and also to keep in mind, like you said, we understand this one may not happen next year, but even just to get that historical data pulled together, it would just be helpful for our community to know what kind of grants could be possible in the future and how they could best prepare for them in advance, because we know oftentimes so many of our providers are volunteers or don't have full staff. And so really to get ahead of grant applications as much as possible and be thinking about them, I think would be really useful for our community. So just happy to work with you on that in the future and share that information back here.
Yeah, I think one part of it is I'm a team of one right now.
Yep.
So I'm bringing on additional staff, and there's going to be one person in my office who's going to be dedicated just to doing grants competitions and grants agreements. So once that person is on board, we're going to be able to come up with a schedule. So everything's in the for the most part, everything's in the FY23 budget, or will be in the FY24 budget. And for FY24, you guys should certainly be active in terms of advocacy and what types of resources are there. But that's I think we will be coming up with a more clear calendar. I can say starting in January, there's going to be at least 2 or 3 more small grants programs that folks will probably be eligible for. So that's something to be mindful of, is when you come back from the holidays or we check in, there is going to be some more small grant opportunities. But it's again, council has been very spontaneous in creating new grants funds during the fiscal year. So we had the new migrants grant fund that was created about a month ago by the outgoing council. We had the abortion access program that was created by council outside the budget. So if there's new emerging needs, you could see new grants programs pop up fairly quick, and we'll do our best to advertise. But that's something I'm building them now, is a marketing infrastructure, how to get the word out, how to let people know. But what I would encourage folks, even if you don't apply for this grant, go to mcmdgrants.smapply.org and create a profile and register, because we'll be, and then hyperlink or add that as a favorite to your calendar. Just say, go in every week and see, because what's going to happen is all county grant opportunities are going to be launched through this platform, or at the very least advertised through this platform. So you can just go to one place, see what the county's offering. You don't have to try to find a needle in the haystack and see what the county's offering in terms of grants and grant opportunities. It's all going to be in one place. And we're building to that, but that's going to be an improvement for you guys, I think. And that's what's been asked for in terms of creation of OGM. But yeah, that's part of it. If you're interested at a later time of just doing a presentation on OGM, and kind of what the office is going to look like, what our role is in county government, how we're staffed up, and all these things, what changes to expect. I'm happy to do that at a later time when and kind of make it a bit more transparent in what we're doing.
Absolutely. I think that would be a wonderful thing to come back once you're more fully staffed and kind of more up and running with your program. I think our community would really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time today.
My pleasure. And then the answer to that question was yes, on lunch. That's absolutely eligible.
Great, great. Moving on, we are going to have a presentation now from Lesley MacDonald, the program manager for the Gaithersburg Financial Empowerment Center in the city of Gaithersburg. Unfortunately, Lesley was having some video issues, but hopefully most of us have been around long enough to know Lesley in the community. So unfortunately, you may not be able to see her face, but we will hear her voice and benefit from her presentation today. So thank you so much for joining us today, Lesley.
Thanks, Anne Marie, and thanks for inviting me to come and join. I always appreciate the enthusiasm and energy and the coalition that is the Food Council and all the people you bring together. So it's nice to be able to come and just tell you a little bit about this project, which I think has future good implications for everybody's work. So I've got my slides up. I'm assuming you can see that. Great. Okay, so I'm working with the city of Gaithersburg on this new concept, which is a financial empowerment center. And for those of you who've been around for a while, the Community Services Department in Gaithersburg does a whole lot of work to connect residents with the services. And so we have a lot of nonprofit connections, and there also some funding for nonprofits that happens out of community services. And, the city also adopted 10 years ago, the Bank On program and financial wellness initiatives, with the idea that if you can connect people with low cost banking opportunities, make sure people are using safe and affordable banking products. And also the Financial Wellness Coalition puts out financial education, in a sort of a preventive effort to make sure that people understand about how to budget, how to get out of debt, and things like that. So this work with the Financial Empowerment Center really builds on 10 years of effort in Gaithersburg. And really because of that effort, the city had the opportunity to apply for this grant from the Cities for Financial Empowerment which is opening financial empowerment centers across the country. I think there's now about 40 of them. So in 2019, there was a startup grant, and the city decided to move forward with starting a financial empowerment center. And so, so that's a little bit of background. And let me go to my next slide. So basically, what a financial empowerment center does is it's a free public service of the city of Gaithersburg, and it provides free one-on-one financial counseling to help residents with whatever financial issues they're struggling with, which tends to come down into these 4 buckets: helping people pay down debt, improve credit scores or establish credit scores if they don't have a credit score. If you haven't been using banking products, you may not even have a credit score. Creating budgets and working with the opportunities and that people have to set aside emergency savings, plan for the future through creating and sticking with the budget, and also finding affordable banking products. Instead of having a bank that may charge you overdraft fees every time you go underwater, finding banking products that don't charge those kind of fees, which can make a big difference, particularly if you're on a low or moderate income. So as I said, it's a free public service, and the counseling is a long-term relationship. It's a coaching relationship. And what they do is they start with people where they are and then find out what their goals are, and then help them along the way with skills and knowledge and regular check-ins, which is really a successful approach for helping people achieve financial goals. Now, currently, the Financial Empowerment Center is serving residents in these 3 zip codes, 877, 877, and 879. But I'm hopeful that in the future, we'll be able to get additional funding, and we're actually working on that now, and so that we can broaden the service area for this opportunity. So to dig in a little bit, the service itself starts with this financial health assessment that I was just speaking of, and trying to figure out, what the person wants to work on. And again, generally it's within these 4 buckets here: banking, credit, debt, and savings. And what the counselors do, and they're bilingual, by the way, bilingual counselors. They work with people either in virtual appointments or in-person appointments in downtown Gaithersburg. We also see people at a nonprofit and over at the Gaithersburg Library, where we have a relationship with Gilchrist Center there. So people can access the service in a number of different ways. And the goals are to really, make a plan in whatever area the person wants to work on, and then to really capture what their milestones are and their outcomes are. In some of the outcomes we're looking at are things like opening a bank account, using a bank account, establishing credit, increasing credit scores by at least 35 points, decreasing debt by 10%, reducing delinquent accounts, and, again, using not only learning savings behaviors, but actually using saving behaviors. And we track the work that the clients do with the counselors over time, so we can see how the program is working. So that's exactly what the Financial Empowerment Center does. And just a little bit more about the characteristics of this particular model is that an important piece of it is it's offered at no cost to the client. And when you look at who's currently being served, it's definitely the low and moderate income residents of Gaithersburg, though we do have people who are at a higher income. Our counselors always say it's not how much money you have, it's how you work with your money. So it's open to anybody. It's a one-on-one confidential service, so we work with individuals or couples, with professional counselors who are trained in all of the areas that you would expect for a financial empowerment center. Very much data driven. We're looking at outcomes all the time and making sure that those one-on-one sessions are having outcomes for the clients, and that we're retaining the clients until they achieve the outcomes and the goals that they want to see. So I think you can position this as a public-private partnership, because it's really led by the city of Gaithersburg, which is important for trust. There's too many financial scams out there. And so the Financial Empowerment Center is a trusted entity because, it's supported by the city and it's a city service. it's a city service like having your snow taken away, right? It's sponsored. But, you know, to be clear, we actually partner with a nonprofit to provide the counseling. So it's a program is really a partnership between the city of Gaithersburg and the counseling is done by Housing Initiative Partnership. We have a team at HIP and we work very closely together daily to make the service available. And then one of the most important aspects of the service that I really wanted to talk to you about today was the fact that it works because it's integrated. So it's not a standalone service. It's a service that's embedded in other services. And again, that's really important for the trusted relationships and for getting clients to come in the door. You know, if somebody, you know, I mean, we do have people who find us on the website and make appointments or meet us at some community event and make appointments. But it's much more powerful if you were working with someone, say a trusted food provider, and they say to you, listen, you know, I know you're having trouble making ends meet. I really think that you could benefit from this service. And why don't you go talk to the Financial Empowerment Center? And it's the power of the warm handoff, the trusted person saying, I think this could help you. That's what makes people come to the Financial Empowerment Center. So we have close ties with vocational programs, and we're, because it's a new service, we're really working to embed ourselves in other programs. For example, Identity invited the Financial Empowerment Center right from the beginning, and they offered the service actually to all of their staff, because let's face it, nonprofit staff, we can all benefit from this kind of support with our finances. And so from the staff, then again, extending out to the clients. So again, caseworkers directly referring individuals to the Financial Empowerment Center. And we're actually seeing people at Identity. So we have the flexibility to be embedded with other programs. You know, please, you know, if you want to talk about a greater partnership, invite us. We're also seeing people I mentioned at the Gaithersburg Library. That's the way the service is designed. And, you know, the way the model works is that if you say you have, say you're a shelter, like we work closely with Wells Robertson in Gaithersburg, it's a transitional housing, and everybody in the house while they're there has financial goals. Well, by referring their people to the Financial Empowerment Center, there's a greater level of expertise in helping people figure out how to achieve those goals. And so at the end of the day, what we're all aiming for is that the client is more successful. And that's how we hope to work with all these different kinds of services, to really be embedded to support your outcomes and what you're trying to accomplish with your families. So that's the model. So results to date, so the Financial Empowerment Center opened in March and started seeing clients. And this data is about maybe half a month old because we've progressed beyond this, but we've seen 154 clients with 415 individual sessions. Altogether, those clients have saved over $100,000 and reduced almost $50,000 worth of debt. And we're counting 37 outcomes. And the outcomes, remember, were the things that I was showing you at the bottom of that other slide. Sometimes those outcomes, like improving your credit score by 35%, that can take months. And so the fact that we've got 37 of those kind of outcomes in our first 6 to 8 months, I think is a really good sign. So we think it's working, and we have room for more. And so my plea is, if you're seeing people who are Gaithersburg residents, please refer them, refer your staff. I mean, we just want to be able to really meet our capacity for this particular service. And then just wrapping up, what our asks for you today is, we'd love you to become a partner. And here's my email and my phone number, and I'll put that in the chat as well. We can increase the impact of your service if we work together, and we can provide, a pathway for greater financial stability. And that's really what we're aiming for. And so we want to work with all of the services to refer people. And by the same token, people sometimes come to the Financial Empowerment Center and have other needs. And so we all in turn refer people for food, we refer people for rent assistance. And one of the outcomes that we track is people actually accessing things like food stamps. We might find a family that didn't realize they were eligible for SNAP. And by referring them for SNAP, they save a couple $100 in their budget every month. It helps everybody. That's the way it's supposed to work. Happy to chat more individually, or if you want someone to come and make a presentation for your staff, your case managers, or for clients. Again, we have bilingual staff. We'll go anywhere. We'll talk to anybody. We just want to get the word out. If you are working with someone one-on-one and you want to make a direct referral, you can do that through the City of Gaithersburg website. You can even go in, fill out the intake with them, make them an appointment right then and there. So you can make a handoff, or you can just make the appointment yourself. And that seems to be an effective way to get people in the door. And then if you're interested, we have this Financial Wellness Coalition. It's banks, it's nonprofits, it's government partners, all really focusing on financial literacy and getting financial information, and tools like this Financial Empowerment Center in the hands of people who need it. So welcome anyone to join. We'd love to have you. So that's it in a nutshell. Are there any questions?
Lesley, thank you so much for an amazing presentation. I see 2 questions in the chat, so why don't we get started with those? The first one was someone was wondering if there can be help planning for how to pay for long-term care needs.
That's not something that we have a particular expertise in, but, we are networking very broadly with other providers. And so it may be that there's a provider that they can help with that. I mean, what we would do is we'd start somebody with, where are you with budgeting, and and how are you using your resources? But for that's probably something we would refer to a partner.
Okay. The next one in the chat, and then we're going to go to Serge. I see his hand. Next one was for a partner organization who's making referrals to you, how can they check on the status of a previous referral?
So we do written agreements with partner organizations, so that we can go back and we can tell the organization, how many people actually took advantage of the service, what the outcomes look like. And then if we do a formal data sharing, we can also communicate directly about individual clients and about how they're doing with the service. I think one thing important about this service is it's not something we want people to make like a requirement. It's not something we want people to use as a barrier in the way of getting other services. It's an add-on. It's and that's why the referrals are really important.
Serge, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Good. I was wondering, I live in Gaithersburg, and I've heard of your organization, and I also know about the good work they've done. If you had other people from other parts of the county who are in need of financial services, could they be referred to you, or are you Gaithersburg centric? Thank you.
Yeah, no, good question. And currently we are Gaithersburg centric. However, we're actually serving a little bit outside the city because we serve all of those 3 zip codes. But the way I see this evolving is that when we're able to bring in more resources, we can use those resources to serve people in the broader community. And so that's like high in my work plan to try to figure out how we bring in other resources. It may be like sort of fee for service arrangements, or grant. Certainly we're looking at grants. We're looking at trying to get community reinvestment money, to expand and broaden the service so that we can serve more people. And just so you know, when we have referrals from outside the area, outside our immediate area who we can't currently serve, we do refer them to other providers. They are not getting exactly the same thing, but at least there are other resources like Cash Campaign. There are other resources.
Great. Lindsay, I also have a question. Sorry, Lesley, I have a question sent to me about if you can also be sure to provide me to share out with everyone the information about how to partner with you.
Great.
And I think the zip codes were I think it was so easy to remember. Let me see if I can, was it 20877,
78, and 79? Exactly. And I'll put all the contact info and everything in the chat. And if people are wanting to partner with us on the financial wellness piece, just contact me. That's the easiest way. And then I really encourage you to go to the City of Gaithersburg website and check out the pages for the Financial Empowerment Center. There's quite a lot more information there. So.
Great. That was an incredible presentation. I really enjoyed learning about all of those services. For those of you who participated in any of our strategic brainstorming groups for childhood hunger, particularly the food assistance provider one, you might remember that this issue came up about how to help families who were experiencing food insecurity with financial education services, that this was something that the community recognized as a need. And so I guess, Lesley, the one thing I want to ask is, like, because we know that budgeting for people who are receiving food assistance benefits, and I really appreciate you talking about connecting people with food assistance benefits, because that's the perfect closing of the loop. But are you also able to help residents who are trying to balance out, the timing of those checks, different benefit checks, and because that really is a different skill than someone, with a kind of known set income for work, and their priorities might be different. Just curious if you had anything to share about that.
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of the benefits of the coaching model that we're using, that one-on-one model, because they sit with clients and, work with their scenario, what they're dealing with. Are you sending money home? Are you, we're helping newcomers, establish those bank accounts for the first time. Maybe people didn't realize that they could use the banking system, or maybe they come from a country where they don't trust the banking system. So it's very much about where that person is and what they have to work with. And then we work with that, with also bringing in the rich resources that are available, in the rest of the community.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Again, for anyone, if you have any further questions on this topic, feel free to share them in the chat. But we will move on to our next topic, which is going to be Elizabeth Tuin from the Food Council staff. Has a few SNAP updates to share, and then an issue or two that we'd like to engage the community on as how best to address moving forward. So I'm going to turn things over to Elizabeth.
Thanks, Anne Marie, and thanks, Lesley, too. I don't know how much people know about the SNAP application process and how very in-depth you need to get with clients on their financial information. You need to list very specific information about income, living expenses, all of that. We get all up in that business, and so this is such a natural handoff. I'm really excited to be able to point our Gaithersburg clients in your direction. That said, I have some updates on SNAP to give you, and some advocacy opportunities, that kind of thing. The first is, and you will have heard us talking ad nauseum about emergency allotments, but I'm bringing it up again because DHS last week sent out letters to every SNAP recipient, I believe, in the state, basically outlining what their SNAP benefit is and what their emergency allotment is each month. And I think we can all see where this is going. Those emergency allotments are going away. We still don't know when. We expect it to happen sometime next year when the federal public health emergency is lifted, but they're starting to prep people now to get to understand what this really means. We have folks who have been receiving $250 a month for the past 2 years per person. And that amount could go down to as little as $28 a month. We've said it before, but we really have to emphasize this message that needs to get out to folks, that we are going to be seeing a real benefit cliff occur, and there's going to be a real need in the community to address that. And before we get to that, addressing that part, I wanted to bring up a couple more things that are really making this a critical time for SNAP beneficiaries. We talk sometimes about, the process of applying for SNAP, and I understand if your eyes glaze over because I can't keep it straight all the time, but they have instituted this new midpoint check-in, the Maryland Benefit Review Form. It's like a redetermination. So halfway through receiving your benefits, now you have to fill out this new form. And if you don't, midway through the year, your benefits could just get cut off. And so we've been trying to get the word out about this sort of new requirement. But again, this is another way in which the process of maintaining your benefits is made more difficult by some of these procedures and things that have not, frankly, always been articulated or publicized very well. SNAP benefit recipients have recently received a letter from the state touting the restaurant meals program. What is this program? It allows seniors, those with disabilities, and homeless people to use their SNAP benefits at participating restaurants. And this letter went out telling everyone what a great program it is, which it is, except how many restaurants do we have in the state of Maryland that can provide the service? One in Calvert County. So, and the reason for this is because while the program was passed in the state of Maryland, it was not funded. So there will be some advocacy opportunities to get some funding behind this program so that restaurants can start to use that funds for the capital upstart cost of administering this program, and at least for this population of folks, get them able to use their benefits in restaurants. And the final and most sort of heartbreaking tale of woe we have around SNAP is the fraud that we've been seeing out there. I know some of you have heard my spiel already on fraud, but it bears repeating. There are a number of phishing, scamming, skimming scams where people are losing benefits off their card. Sadly, a lot of times they don't realize this until they are in the line at the grocery store with their family in tow and a load of groceries there that they cannot pay for. And basically, there isn't much recourse. There's a federal law that says that you can't use federal funds to reinstate SNAP benefits. Which means if there were to be some kind of refund, it would fall on the state to do this. And there are advocacy efforts out now to encourage the state to use surplus funds to create some kind of fund to help people who have lost their benefits. For now, they're telling people to reset their password. And the issue here is that EBT cards are notoriously insecure. They do not and are not required to have the same security standards that a regular credit card has. So folks have to be careful. We've been encouraging people to check their balances often, to change their password. And if they do experience some kind of fraud, it's important to report that to the police, to get a police report and to take that report and send it to DHS. This is all important because, fingers crossed, if we are able to get some kind of refund program in place, we would need to have documentation of that fraud so that they could receive those funds. Stephanie, I see your comment there, and we will put out some information that you can share with folks so that you can warn them about these things, which is all sort of a very long way of saying that there are things happening out there in the sort of SNAP benefit world where folks are losing their benefits immediately and unexpectedly. And I think we can all speak to experiences of folks coming to us in need. And this is just another layer, another example of people who might find themselves without food immediately. And I think it was sort of really heightened, for some reason, we just saw a lot of this coming to a head the week before Thanksgiving. I think around the holiday times where people are thinking food and celebration and trying to give their families, something special that when they're suddenly without, they really feel the burden and the pinch that much more. And so we just wanted to talk with all of you who are doing food assistance to see really what is the best way to help a family who is suddenly and critically in need. We have been so thankful for the hubs and for all of you out there who were, able to give these soft handoffs to on occasion. And we know, we speak to so many people, and all of you out there are helping huge communities of folks with this need. But I guess we just wanted to hear from you all about your experience in providing sort of that last minute emergency food need and that kind of thing. Yet we do get a lot of requests. People are like, can you just give me a gift card from somewhere? And I know these were programs that were more popular during COVID when, there were sort of these programs, but it would be great to hear from all of you about that. So I'll shut up now and hear if you guys have any suggestions, or if you want to, put your hat in the ring for someone who could be called upon in an emergency situation, that kind of thing.
While we wait for folks to collect their thoughts, I just want to share, thank Elizabeth for sharing that update with us, for sharing what she's hearing from individuals and the challenges they're experiencing. We know that the holiday time is such a busy time for food assistance providers as well. And so this really is an unfortunate, kind of timing situation happening here, because we know you already have so many people coming to your doors that these emergencies are then, hard to add on to all of the extra work that you are already doing. And so we are completely mindful of that. But that's why I think Elizabeth's request is so timely right now as well, because we want to make sure that we are not, that if there are those of you out there who have the resources to take a soft handoff, we want to make sure we know who you are. So we are not sending people to places that are already being overwhelmed beyond your capacity, or that there is not a way to provide a soft handoff to you right now. So I think this is an important kind of resource sharing conversation, to think about the best way to move forward. And I did also want to mention, we are mindful that, many food assistance providers feeling the pinch right now. And we hope that you are also taking advantage of local partnerships in your area, whether it's with your hub, your closest hub, or other food assistance providers nearby, to maybe kind of brainstorm and think about, the best way to share meeting the need in your communities at this time. So I see something in the chat. Let me just check there. Okay. Oh, I think so. Elizabeth, I think some folks are asking in the chat about, do you have any flyers to address needs, particularly in other languages, as to what people can do if they are victims of SNAP fraud, and the steps that, they should take?
Yeah, and we don't currently have a flyer, but you know what I'm doing this afternoon? I'm making a flyer because we do want to get the word out. And so I will get something to Anne Marie that we can at least distribute electronically. And if we can get, I'm not sure if we have it in the budget to do paper flyers, but we'll certainly get you that information in a way that's easy to share with clients. What we've been told is that you need to contact your local police department and file a report, get that report, and you can send it to OESS, the Office of Eligibility and Support Services, which is the office that administers the SNAP program for Montgomery County. I can put that email address in the chat. We can give you the phone number to call. And they should be able to handle multiple languages there. And if you have specific, if you run into specific people who have these issues, we're happy to talk to them as well. If you want to send them our way, again, we can only tell them what we've told you, but we can sometimes, help folks a little more specifically with their account and that kind of thing. So,
Okay, and I'm sorry, Andrea has pointed out in the chat that DHS has a flyer online. So Elizabeth, maybe some of your work has already been done for you. So let's keep our fingers crossed there. And I would also mention, if any of you, Stephanie Price, so first of all, I see your hand. So give me 1 second to wrap up this thought, and then please share. If any of you have specific language needs, this is kind of a time to pool resources. Unfortunately, the Food Council doesn't have many translation services available. But if any of your organizations are able to do it for communities that you serve, if you then want to share that with us, we are happy to add it to a larger document, and we can keep sharing that throughout our community. You know, if folks can add to it and we can meet that need as quickly as possible, I think that would be a wonderful pooling of resources and efforts. Stephanie.
Good afternoon, everyone. I was sitting here just trying to think of some possible ways to help out. I know we have the different hubs and they can go on the website and see that. But I was wondering, I know there was a time that I believe her name was Christy, where when you dialed 311, she would direct you, or she would refer those people to the different hubs that were closest. I don't know if that could also be a resource, so that if they do run into a situation where they've gone to the grocery store and they can't get any food, that we at the different hubs have the ability to at least give them something so they don't go without. And at least, because initially people are distraught. They're not really going to go and look online. They want to call a number. They want to really talk to someone who can help them. So I'm thinking maybe that might be a good suggestion to start to help in that area.
I agree. Plumber coming. Yeah, and actually, Melissa Ferguson is sharing in the chat now that those that have Montgomery County contracts can establish language line accounts, so we can check into that. We still had another minute for this agenda item on available. So if there's any other thoughts or questions, happy to take them. If not, we will move along. And Elizabeth, again, thank you so much for that update, and looking forward to what resources we can share out in our resource newsletter going out tomorrow. Thanks again. All right, I am going to turn things over now to our presentation from Anna Nicolo from the Gilchrist Immigrant Resource Center. I know I saw her join. There we go. So I'll give her a set. There she is on her camera. And I did make you co-host. So hopefully you are able to share your screen. So we're going to, I think it's always a good time. I know we our organizations have been friends for a long time, but and as well as with many organizations on our call today, but I think it's probably been a long time since we've heard all about your services. And I think it's always good for a refresher, because sometimes we forget, or you offer new and exciting programs, and also to hear an update on your new website. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anna Nicolo. I manage all of the Gilchrist Center's English for Speakers of Other Languages programs and English conversation programs. I also manage our Wheaton location, and I'm very glad to be here today. So glad for this invitation, and especially to share with you our updated website, which we hope will be very, very useful to all of you. I'm gonna start by hopefully sharing my screen, and let me just start it. There we go. And I just wanted to, especially for those of you who are new to us, we've actually been in existence for more than 20 years. But I just wanted to note the county seal there. We are actually a county agency. We may not always seem that way just because we're small, and we also have a very our logo and everything is bright and trying to be welcoming. And the county, of course, as a whole is very welcoming, but it's not always clear perhaps to everyone that we are part of the county. We're part of the Office of Community Partnerships. I'm gonna start by just talking a little bit about the services we offer to the community and to you as those who are serving the community. And those are both available on the phone and in person and online now, as we've all changed our ways of being. So we have we're based in 3 locations: Wheaton, which is my where I'm talking to you from right now. That's also our headquarters. We're also in the Gaithersburg Library, as was mentioned by one of your prior speakers, and within the East County. And we have what we call a pop-up location in White Oak at the Community Rec Center. And I'll be switching over and showing you our website soon, but I just want to note that our hours are different at each location. The Gilchrist Immigrant Resource Center serves all county residents, regardless of where they're from. We do have a special focus on the immigrant community. Our staff speak multiple languages, and but we will never turn anyone away. Anybody calls us, comes to visit, we will serve them to the best of our ability. We offer information and help connect people to services offered by all of you and many other community organizations. And we do our best to keep up with all the latest programs that the county's offering and that the nonprofit providers are offering as well. We directly offer classes in English, basic computers, and citizenship preparation. And those are primarily right now online, but we're starting to try to move to some in-person classes. We also offer a great opportunity for volunteer work. Most of our classes actually are taught by volunteers. And in the last way we serve the community is through sharing our space. We host many different programs. So for example, Montgomery County Bar Association offers pro bono legal clinics in 2 of our locations. So basically once a week, there is a pro bono clinic in one of our locations, either in Wheaton or Gaithersburg. And that's just one example. So in terms of our classes, I'm going to be quick here because then I'm going to show you our website. But right now they are mostly taught by Zoom, on Zoom, sorry. And we do facilitate access to a free Zoom training. And by the way, all of our classes are free, except for some classes, the students do need to purchase a book. And we will assist residents ages 18 and up. I'm just gonna, I'll just mention this quickly. We have usually 3 sessions per year. The conversation classes go year round, and registration is all online right now. Okay, I'm gonna, I think, switch over, and I hope this goes smoothly to our website, which I had just opened. Okay, let's see. No. Okay. Sorry, give me 1 sec. I'm almost there. There we go. All right, so hopefully you can all see our website. And afterwards, I'll put a link to the website in the chat. We have just recently updated this and and put a lot into it, a lot of research, and we really hope that you'll find it useful. Just want to start by pointing out these headings here are classes, get help, which is where you might find it very useful for your clients, citizenship, immigrant resources, volunteer. This is where if you know someone who wants to volunteer with us, they'll find an application. About us as a little bit of background, and contact us. I'm gonna also note that most Montgomery County websites, when you search, you're searching the whole Montgomery County website. And so you're gonna get a lot of results. In this case, we were able to get them to do a search just of our site. So that's gonna help you get, hopefully save you some time. Most of these are also available here. And so our classes, get help, etc. And also want you to know our calendar. So for example, we're going to have an in-person conversation class here tomorrow. And we try to keep these up to date. Now going down to the bottom is our 4 locations are listed with the hours. And then if you click here, I'm gonna click on Gaithersburg. So you can see all the programs that are available, and then down here there's the map and parking, etc. And lastly on this, and these are on every page, translation. So if you have a client for whom English is not their first language and they want to see this in another language, they do have to scroll down to the bottom, but it is there. Okay. So I'm gonna move on. And by the way, I'm very happy to answer questions anytime. So, in the chat or later. So going to the classes, we're getting ready for our winter 2023 session. And you can see English, basic computers, citizenship, and more learning opportunities. And in the more learning, I'm not going to go into it, but there's a lot of great online learning, free. Most of this is all free, and many are accessible through the library. And in case people are not aware, the Montgomery County Public Library System has a truly impressive collection of free online certification programs, training programs, etc. I encourage you to show your clients, like if they are interested in taking our classes, they can click on this where it says sign up to receive updates by email or text. And then they'll get regular updates, and we'll send them information about our next registrations. Why is this important? Because our English classes, for example, are usually filled within 24 hours of opening registration. So people, if they're interested in that, they want to register, the minute it opens. So I'm going to click on English here. You can see, some of the basics. You can see that we have a little bit of Zoom instruction right there. We're very pleased by now, after all this time of COVID, many of our clients who struggled deeply with using Zoom and have very limited digital literacy are now much more comfortable using it. And also, as I'm sure many of you know, the Montgomery Connects free Chromebook program has helped many people. And if you don't know about that, I can put that in the chat after. I think it might be phasing out, but still many of our students are taking classes on their smartphones, and that is not the best way to learn. But so to quickly, so right now you can see our classes are full, but when they are, and then again, we're inviting people to sign up for updates. But at the time that they're open, which is I think January 9th, they will they would see here a link to complete an application form and take an online test, and then we would communicate with them from there. and then I just want to show also that there are many, many other English programs, which you may or may not know, but we have just now updated this list. And this includes, as much as we could get the dates when things are going to be opening up for registration. So for example, today, CASA has registration. Tomorrow, I believe Montgomery College, sorry, I'm going to go through this quickly, is having some registrations for ESOL. So that's a very, very valuable thing for many of your folks. Going back, we also have our conversation classes, which are drop-in, free, and many of them are online. And people, all they have to do is like, this class is going on right now. If somebody wanted to join it, they could click there and they'd be taking the conversation class. So it's very simple. Moving on, well, I'm not going to go into it, but we have a similar page for our computer classes and our citizenship preparation classes. They are also mostly online. This is where I wanted to really show you how useful this could be for you, is the Get Help page. So for example, so you can see we've got, financial assistance, housing, food, legal, and many other categories. I've been using this youth and seniors page to help someone in my life who's a senior. So there's many of these links go to different parts of the county or different nonprofits. I'm gonna go to health, which is blocked, I think, sorry, blocked by my Zoom window. Okay, so if we go to health, you can see, there's information about, dental care, here, programs for low income residents with phone numbers. They can go to the Mary Center website or call them right here without going any further. And, help with medical bills, very important topic, emergency Medicaid. So we hope that you all can, use this to provide different assistance to your clients. We know that most clients do not only have one problem. If they need food, they probably need something else too. And that's how we help. And that's actually, I'll have to get back to that. That's how we see the clients that call us as well. Just to go to, actually, I'm going to go up. So I'm going to let you, I hope you will explore this Get Help page on your own. And then of course you can use the search engine right here. Immigrant resources, I did want to in particular show you a couple things. Immigration legal, this is one of the biggest, concerns for many people. And we've got this wonderful chart here, which is got a great search system of its own. So for example, you have someone who's needs to seek asylum. So I put the word asylum in that search bar, and we've got all the programs that do work on that. Okay. Another topic I want to highlight here on immigrant resources is family preparedness. So this is really, really important, as you can imagine, for your families that are in this kind of situation. So for example, the Standby Guardianship project, in case you're not aware of it, can allow parents to provide to set up a guardianship arrangement that would only take place in the case of deportation. So there's just a lot of we're lucky that there's a lot of great programs available, but many people don't know about them, and we're trying to help people find the information. However, knowing the literacy level of most of our clients, this is also largely for all of us who are serving the community. I see a question from Maria del Mar. I don't know if we want to go ahead and take that. Sure.
Oh, I Hi, this is Maria del Mar. Thank you for the information. I will have a question. So I refer a lot of people to the Gilchrist Center, and I have a question concerning the citizenship classes. The
Yeah.
citizenship classes, the person needs to be already in the process of the N400, or getting themselves to become citizen at the time of enrollment.
That's a great question. I am going to see, I think we've got a new,
There is not a
There's
lot of
this-
information
yeah,
concerning, but when I have referred my clients, because I don't have that information clear, I
Mm.
tend to only refer people who are already in the process of changing their status, their legal status. But now that I have you in front of me, I would like to have that clarification.
yes, yes, absolutely. And you know what, I'm gonna, if you could send me your email by
Yes.
chat, and then I'll get back to you. I mean, I
Okay.
know they have to be eligible. I do know they have to be eligible to gain citizenship.
Hmm.
But whether they have to be actively in the process, I have to apologize. I don't know the answer, but I will get it to you.
Perfect. I will reach out to you. Thank you, Anna.
No problem. So going back to the immigrant resources, there was one other thing I wanted to point out, which is the immigration agencies. So here we have these three major areas: the USCIS, EOIR, and ICE. And so if anyone has a case with USCIS and wants to know how to check their case status, if someone has an immigration court case and needs guidance navigating the court system, or if a loved one is detained by ICE and they need to locate them, all of those questions can be answered by clicking on these links. Okay. Now, there's one other major thing that we do, and this occupies a lot of our staff time, and it's a huge part of our mandate, which is to help people who call us or come into the office. And here's our phone number. People can call Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. They can also email, or they can come into one of our offices in person when we're open. Now, our staff, as I mentioned at the beginning, speak multiple languages. We have full access to the language line that the county has a contract with, and we use it. Our staff are very well trained in working with folks from any part of the world, and they keep up with all the latest resources. And lastly, if we cannot get to the phone, or if someone calls at night, we call them back. We do our best to call them back as quickly as possible. Maybe it'll take a day. We also do take the time, whatever time it takes, to make sure the client has the answers that they need. So, the county has the 311 system, which was mentioned earlier, and that's a very valuable system for answering one question. It's not designed, it's not supposed to be there to go into depth with each client. Now, we are not case managers, but we will, like, if they call about one thing, we will ask, like, how are you doing with the other thing? Maybe if it's food, then rental or whatever. And of course, we're very well versed with all of you, and are directing folks to, the wonderful resources that you all are providing. I think, let's see, I think I have covered it all. I'm very happy to answer any questions if there's any more time.
There is, and Anna, thank you so much for your time. We still have a few minutes left, so feel free to put any questions you might have in the chat or raise your hand. While people are taking a moment to collect their thoughts, I will just say I had the opportunity to speak with Julian for a while last week, And he did fill me in on all the work that you all are doing for case management services to keep track of calls and referrals. So I just wanted to highlight that effort there for everyone who may be sending folks to the Gilchrist Center, for information, that they really are, handling all of those requests as best they can and with the time and the attention they deserve, and following up when there are opportunities and making notes when they do need to follow up. And I think it was just a great call because at some point in the future, we should all have a community conversation about case management, because like as Elizabeth pointed out today with the SNAP concerns, and as we're learning, like we know everyone is getting these calls, right? We know people really are looking for information, are looking for services, and many of us may have internal systems, but we should probably talk about moving forward in the future, what we can do to kind of better connect those, and what resources are out there to connect that, to make this a little more seamless, and to kind of take the work out of thinking about how you're going to follow up on things, and if there's ways that could make that easier for everyone operating in this space. I am going to be quiet now because that was a lot, but please, if there's anyone who had a question on the Gilchrist Center presentation or any of our other presentations today, we have another minute or two, and feel free to.
I would just add one thing, that in addition to, one clarification, we do not consider ourselves to provide case management.
Right.
We're not staffed for that, but we do kind of something in the middle, I would say.
Yeah, but in the loosest sense of the term. Yes.
Yeah, do follow up. But also, yeah, having some community conversations about that, and also about having a common source of resources to refer people to, and we are hoping, and we actually welcome some input into this new website, the Get Help section, especially in the hopes that we can help it be as useful to all of you as possible, because I know like some of the organizations are very small, don't have a lot of staff. We don't have a lot of staff either, but if we all work together, that's how we're going to be successful.
That's true.
So I do have one thing to add. Anne Marie does not know that I'm going to say this, but yesterday was her birthday. So I wanted to wish her a happy birthday and let you guys all do your birthday wishes for her. So yeah, happy birthday, Anne Marie.
Oh, I did not know where that was going. Thank you.
Many happy returns.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, if that is all for today, it is 2:30. I again want to thank all of our speakers for their time, Raphael and Shawn from county government, Lesley MacDonald from City of Gaithersburg Financial Empowerment Center, Anna from the Gilchrist Center, Elizabeth from Food Council staff, Danielle for her help with sharing some information in the chat. As per usual, we will follow up tomorrow with our resource email, which will have links to all of the presentations that were given today, contact information, any kind of links that we shared in the chat. And then, following up a little later when everyone has more time, a list of all attendees and some fuller notes, but we will make sure you get those resources in your hands tomorrow to best serve your clients. I hope you all have a wonderful December. I look forward to seeing you all in the new year. I hope you are able to get some rest after an incredibly busy season working for our county's residents. So thank you everyone for all that you do. It is great to see you. I hope to see many more of you in person next year. And we could talk about that on the next call, but I look forward to seeing you. Danielle, remind me, are we January 9th is our next call? I hate to put you on the spot, but I think that's what's sticking in my head is going to be January 9th.
Yep, January 9th.
Excellent. Excellent. Look forward to seeing you all then. Have a great day, everybody.